Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Positive Tips with Rachelle, folks, where it is great to be back here with you, back from hiatus, back from Louisiana, and picked up some back to school swag for my good old New Orleans Saints. And so, obviously it's been a while since I've been in school, but I couldn't pass up on a little swag for the Saints. So anyway, folks, it is great to be back here with you. Next time, I'm going to kick off a series on confidence. It's been a while since I've done anything on confidence, and it is something I am extremely passionate about. Ideally, it would have been nice to kick it off this week, but I always like to give just a heads up, because if you haven't seen, me, particularly on these Positive Tips episodes where I have, full content control, they challenge you. I mean, I challenge you. This isn't a rah, rah, rah. Confidence is important. Yay. No, I challenge you, as I always do, but it can be particularly challenging in the confidence area, because it is something that is important to each and every aspect of our lives. And so I'm deeply passionate about that, folks. But this episode, I want to start off with a story time from Louisiana. Then I'm going to, mention a couple of fitness trends and wrap this episode up. So, Louisiana. And so historically, in terms of my fitness journey down there, so there's kind of the, where I live portion of, for example, okay, I live here in Michigan, okay, got my fitness journey going on here and all of this and that, but it's Louisiana, obviously because I don't live there, and in terms of gym memberships and how that's all played out. So in recent years, as you all have heard, for those who've been around long enough, from my earlier Positive Tips, back in the day, recent years, Bel Air Fitness, as I mentioned, actually, they were giving these away in 2015. And so Bel Air is actually a ministry of Bel Air Church. And so went to that gym, 2013 to 2017. And full disclosure, that's actually a church that I visit when I'm in town. So that was the Bel Air season. And then joined Planet Fitness. I joined Planet Fitness more so for here, in terms of a new season here. And that was June 28, 2017, until my effective cancellation date, September 22nd of last year, so 2020. And so that was my Louisiana, my Shreveport-Bossier fitness. Those were my fitness journey. And before that, Barksdale, the newer fitness center, the Brian Bell Fitness Center that I've highlighted in episodes. And so that was my journey. And so obviously, going back there, been doing hybrid of outdoors, driveway, backyard fitness, as well as my parents have machines in their house. So there is an elliptical, there's a treadmill, and there is a exercise bike. There's an exercise bike. And the exercise bike makes me smile because my dad got that exercise bike in 2004. It is a Nordic Track SL 730. And that thing still going strong. My mom's elliptical, she bought that, I want to say 2009, 2010, and that's still going strong. And she got the treadmill in 2018. So those are the options there. And I bought a lot of stuff, particularly last year when gyms and things were closed. So that's been that kind of, Louisiana portion of my fitness journey. So obviously here in the last few weeks, few months, the question mark has been certainly prominent in my mind. What's next for my fitness journey down south? What is that going to look like? What's the next season of my fitness journey in that particular area when I'm there? And so for me, I had to spend some time thinking, yada yada yada, exploring. It's not in terms of, from a marketing standpoint, I would say that's an emerging market. It's certainly not a competitive market like Metro Detroit or one of your top fitness markets like Chicago. So there's not a lot of competition, because the area, Shreveport-Bossier City, I mean, you may, in that whole area, you may have like 350 to 400,000 people, including some of the surrounding areas, but it's a decent sized area. And so the prominent players in that area would be Anytime Fitness. And I actually learned this tip, and I've shared this on a Fitness Friday before. It's been a long time. But Anytime Fitness, Louisiana, as I learned a few years ago, is actually a very strong market for the Anytime Fitness chain. And that is because they actually remain committed to grow and expand in Louisiana, even after Hurricane Katrina. Because Hurricane Katrina, August 2005, and then it just decimated many parts of South Louisiana. So Anytime Fitness, very prominent. My last count, which was probably a couple years ago, they were up to like 11, 12 in that Shreveport locations, in that Shreveport Bossier area. And then you have 4 locations of Planet Fitness, and I was at Planet for that time. So what's next? So that was my question, what's next? So anyway, evaluated different options, number of private type of facilities and studios in that area. And I'm happy to report the question mark has now been replaced with a period in terms of my fitness journey down there. And I'm going to give you a quick story time on my visit to Fit Nation. So that is where I will be working out when I'm in town. And there's something that's very important. Now, I don't have my SWOT analysis. I don't have my clipboard. That is so funny. I've been without it for a little while. And so when you think about from a competitive strategy standpoint, so think about that. So I'm always talking about competitive strategy. That's one of my professional areas. And so I just want to think this out, think this particular point out loud in terms of what I went through, and in terms of looking at different, looking at different websites, and of course just, being there and just knowing what are some of the major players in that area, what are some of the more prominent gyms, and particularly with Fit Nation. And so when I, reviewed their website, and one thing that, from a competitive strategy standpoint, one thing that certainly stuck out to me was the $5 visitor fee. And so one thing I often say is that when you see, very inexpensive fees like that, and there's no fine print, there's no terms of conditions. Now, this is based on my experience. I've been to a lot of different gyms, particularly as a visitor, in different parts of the country, and even some foreign countries as well. And so when I see that very inexpensive guest fee, and I don't see any verbiage or terms of conditions or anything like you can only use it one time or anything like that, that kind of let me know, particularly just within the framework when I discuss Fit Nation. I said, wow. So when I followed up, when I saw that, I said, okay, that kind of told me something. And so I followed up with a phone call just to confirm, hey, I was looking at your website, I just wanted to come in, as a guest, whatever, yada, yada. Yep, just come in, pay your $5, sign in, you're good to go. Cool, bam. And so, that got my attention. So there's no limits in terms of how many times I could visit. Are you going to be asking me what I need to do? When am I going to join? And, you can only join 5 times before you must make a decision to become a member. And that certainly happens with different business models within the fitness industry, understandably so. I mean, this is a smaller private gym, and so, these particular, from a leadership perspective, have the ability and certainly the flexibility to make those kind of decisions, to make those kind of calls. And so that's when I experienced that, I said, oh, wow, yeah, because the same thing happened, with Bel Air, years ago when they had that $5 fee, and then I went in and talked to those folks. And what ultimately at both locations ended up happening is I asked a question, explain my scenario. Look, I don't live here. I used to live here. Went to undergraduate school here. My parents still live here, and I come back and visit, yada, yada, yada. And so both, and it's so ironic, Bel Air Fitness as well as Fit Nation, both had the options. And I asked, I said, look, so what do you have for people like me? Do you have an option? Do you have some flexibility? I cannot sign a membership contract because I don't live here. And my philosophies I've shared in a number of fitness episodes where I'm not paying for a gym membership I'm not using. That's just me. And so both gave me the option. Hey, we've got a membership, quasi-membership where you can come whenever you're in town, unlimited visits, yada, yada, yada. It was $25 for Bel Air Fitness. Ironically, it's the same at Fit Nation. And so Fit Nation has 2 membership levels, $25 and then $40. And so the $40, of course, and I've talked about this tiering from a marketing perspective. Certainly you get more amenities and all of these type of different things, but the only thing I'm always concerned about is just access to the equipment itself. And so what I will be able to do, and they brought me in, will be able to come in at that $25 membership, will enable me to have access to everything, whatever on the floor, 24/7. It's a 24/7 gym now, and they've got the key fob similar to Anytime Fitness, where you just kind of scan in and scan out. And I was very surprised and quite impressed though that I'm going to have that 24/7 access, being with a temporary membership like that. So which was super cool. Now, I'm not going to be going in at like 2 a.m. I mean, the earliest I'll probably go in is like at 5 a.m. I used to work at a Bel Air at 5 a.m. On weekdays. And so will probably be 5 a.m., but they have staffed hours, similar, interestingly similar to that model, to that anytime model. And so their staffed hours don't start until 7 a.m. during the week. So I'd probably be there 5:30, 6 o'clock, maybe 6:30, up until, I'm sure I would see, that would be a continuation of when I start, and then also when the staff would come in. So there would be certainly that overlap between, probably up to about 8:30 or something when I would leave. So that's that. So when you think from a competitive strategy standpoint, think about what was going through my mind. I needed options that did not require a commitment. And I knew, even years ago at Barks, because keep in mind, I've highlighted episodes, Bossier City, Louisiana, Shreveport's right next to it. So Bossier City, so that's in many respects, it's a military town. Bossier City definitely is, and Shreveport has a lot of, active duty folks that, live out in Shreveport as well. Veterans, they've got a VA there in Shreveport, so a large military presence. So I knew that, just, my background in history and all of that, being in military type of environments, growing up, is I knew that there would likely be some fitness entities where I would have that flexibility. Why? Because you have military members that are coming to Barksdale on orders, for blocks of time, 2, 3, 4 weeks, sometimes months at a time, and they would need some fitness options. They may want fitness options outside of Planet Fitness, because unless you have a black card membership, you can go to all their different clubs, or you can just get a white card membership and join that particular club and just cancel anytime. And number one, my as wonderful as it was, my Planet Fitness season is over, so that wasn't an option of, well, I'll just get a white card membership and just go to this particular gym. No, there's, me, I'm a season-oriented self-actualizer, as I mentioned before, so I'm always thinking about growing and developing and being challenged and sameness and being comfortable in certain positions and situations. For me personally, my growth happens during seasons of change, during seasons like a 2020 when we dealt with the coronavirus pandemic, and certainly still dealing with it. But so that's just me personally. So I said, oh yes, it's time for a new beginning, time for a new season of fitness also in this area. So Fit Nation it is. And so, but the very first time, Rachelle is always gonna tell the truth on these fitness episodes, but the very first time when I went in on the 18th of July, because initially what it kind of triggered it was, I need to go to a gym at least once a week. This sounds so funny when I say it out loud. At least once a week, because what happens is, if I have blocks of time where I'm in Louisiana, and I've been, particularly historically with this pandemic, where I'm doing outdoor and home, and there's just, I'm not in a gym at all during that time. It just, when I get back to Michigan, it's kind of like, wow, I got to go to the gym, and it's just, it's an easier transition if I'm continuing to go instead of just, not going at all and just doing home and outdoor. And then here, of course, I have Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. And so I like to go, and I said, okay, so, and that's actually how I started, it really kind of triggered me this past visit to say, okay, you know what, I got to get the next season of my fitness started here in this area. So that's how I ended up. And so July 18th. So that was my first visit to Fit Nation. And long story short, so when I walked in, it was like, boom, it was just the heat. The heat. Now keep in mind, Louisiana, the South in general, just very hot this time of year. So their Sunday hours are 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. So there's, a couple of little caveats. It's later in the day. So at that particular point, the heat index, because I made sure to look at it, and I took a screenshot of that, weather app on my phone so I would remember. So the heat index was 102. So this is about 120, 115 right after they opened when I went in. So I looked at that heat index. It was super hot. And so I walked in the gym, and it was like, boom, it was so hot, and they had the ceiling fans going around, and so I was like, oh my goodness, it is so hot in here. And I was having flashbacks, because the Barksdale Air Force Base Fitness Center, definitely from 94 to 98 when I was there, it used to be real hot, as well as, in the same, even the newer location, they have these big floor fans going on, and so, cost containment, and certainly I understand that. And so, since they're funded by taxpayer dollars, and there's no membership fee, so it was very, very hot. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh my God, it is so hot in here. And I do cardio intensive workouts, so, and I start out with cardio, so it was kind of like bam. So anyway, hung in there, but I will definitely tell you, just, my entire workout, I was consumed, like, oh my God, it is so hot in here. Like, oh my goodness, it's so hot in here. And so, hung on in there, had that workout, cool, bam. And what I didn't do before that, and I haven't looked at, gym reviews like that since probably a couple years ago. Remember I told you I spent a good amount of time, doing industry analysis and perception analysis, looking at reviews of all different types of entities from just across the country. And so I hadn't looked at reviews for a long time, and it didn't even occur to me because I haven't been in that mindset to look at the reviews before I went. But so after that particular visit, and I said, you know what, and I was having this conversation in my mind while I was in there, like, you know what, this is really hot. Like, there's just no way. There's no way it could be like this every day is what I was thinking to myself. And so looked at the reviews, like a couple days later, next day or a couple days later. And then I saw, 4.8 out of 5 stars on Google, highly rated, and there's, no one complaining about the heat. And I said, you know what, there has to be some issue or whatever with the AC, because, just from a business standpoint, that would be very tough, because there's a Planet, Fit Nation was certainly there first, but there's a Planet, I don't know, maybe 2.5, 3 miles at the most away. So there's no way with that Planet location that it would be able to, have that type of environment from a competitive standpoint. Why? Because people would say, ooh, that Planet, they do a real good job on their temperature control. And so that was that. So checked it out, looked at the reviews, no one talking about hot, and I said, you know what, give it another chance. And this is just a life tip. Whenever you have a situation, and this can happen in any of our aspects of life, we have to be willing to give things a chance. Because, and I will be very transparent and say I have not been the best in this area. Yes, I've certainly grown. I continue to learn and grow and develop as a human, just like everyone else. But see, I can be quick to write things off, and in some cases, write people off. And so I was like, no, give it another chance. And we have to look for patterns in life. So if we have you go to your favorite restaurant and things are off, don't just say, I'm never going back there unless the service of the food was just, unacceptable or anything like that. But just give it another chance. We all need grace. We all, whatever. We all have off days, whatever this and that. And so I said, okay, 3 in this particular scenario would be, 3 chances. So the first was kind of off. Okay. So either that second visit would be validation of the first, or a different experience. And then after that would be a final visit to where I would say, okay, I've had 2 confirmations of this particular issue, or 2 that was very positive. And so again, you want to look for patterns and see, is there something that's happening every time or whatever this and that. So long story short, it was an issue with the AC. And that happens everywhere, doesn't it? Of course, in a very hot state like Louisiana, it's more pronounced. But I'm glad. So that second time when I went in there, it was nice and cool, and it was funny because my outdoor fitness in Louisiana, I have shorts, and I have actually sleeveless gym shirts like this that I typically wear, and so I had all that stuff, and it's amazing. Even years ago, Powerhouse was another hot gym, and I mentioned that on the episodes when I was a member there. But Powerhouse was hot, and so I had to pull out some of my old attire for that second visit. So I said, I need to be ready if it's going to be hot in here again. I need to make sure I have on shorts. I had on yoga pants and some of the stuff you would see me wearing at the gym now when it's a nice, strong temperature controlled environment. And so, yes. And so that's what it was. So, second visit, nice and cool, fans were on, air was working, everything was great. And so I think that's a situation where it's just kind of recognize something may be off. A person may be having a bad day. Your trainer may be sick. Your group fitness instructor, may be going through a hard time in his or her life. So we all need grace. We all need to understand. We all need to perhaps ask questions if we need to, and find out what the story is behind what could be going on. So that was just a reinforcement of a very important lesson for me, because as I took my 2 big things from a fitness perspective in a fitness facility are temperature control, nice cool gym because I have cardio intensive workouts, and machines. What kind of machines do you have? Am I going to be able to be challenged? And that's why I told you a few weeks ago, Edge Fitness, it's just epic. it's just epic, and it's historic because I have a nice cool gym, and I have my favorite cardio machines. I mean, there's, you know, all this other wonderful stuff, and then the track as well. There's all these wonderful things, but it's just, man, to have those two in the same facility, it's just so awesome. And so, and this is funny. Let me tell you something funny that also happened. So when I went in on the day was real hot in the gym. So I have various playlists. So I have Amazon playlist, and then also have Apple, you know, playlists that I've created from playlists that I've had for a number of years, from, you know, Powerhouse and Planet Fitness and that type of stuff, from CDs. I have a large CD collection. So anyway, I have various types of music. I have various playlists. And so I have some Edge cardio playlist. And so here I was about to start running on the treadmill, and it was so hot in there. And I was looking, and then on my playlist, I also have pictures, you know, on your for those who have iPhones, you know, and I'm sure the same is probably true for Android, but yeah, you can put pictures on your playlist. And so for my Edge playlist, I have a picture of me, that picture back from January, and that actually came from that first video I did right after I joined and got my key fob that morning, or that key tag that morning. And so then there's a picture of me right there, you know, with my Edge Fitness thumbs up and all that kind of stuff, with the Edge in the background, where you could see kind of the wall and all of that. So I saw that, and I remember things, I was about to run on the treadmill, and I saw that, and I was like, because I was thinking like, ooh, you know, Edge Fitness is nice and cool, and I'm so hot in here. And so it cracked me up when I saw that. I was like, oh no, I was looking at that picture of Edge, and I'm like, ooh, very, very different temperature. But anyway, good ending. Like I said, Fit Nation, that's going to be my southern gym that I frequent there when I'm in town. But it's all about growth. It's all about learning. And Bel Air, and that was a big question for me. It's kind of, you know, with Bel Air, there was no like, oh, it's time for a new season of fitness down here. What am I going to do? It was a matter of, I had a Black Card membership, so that's when I started, you know, didn't stop going to Bel Air and started going to Planet in that particular area. And they did a wonderful job. Sutherland Group down there in the Shreveport-Bossier market, district manager Ryan Lowe did a wonderful job. You know, as certainly PF Michigan Group here in our Michigan market, well, Michigan and Ohio markets. Wonderful job, wonderful jobs. And so for me, it was a matter of, okay, what am I going to do down here in this market? So with Bel Air, it was kind of open-ended. And so, like I said, I visit that church when I'm in town. And so I realize now, and I kind of made the decision that, you know, Bel Air is kind of open-ended. So, you know, I will go from time to time, and I will also, that's a good location to do videos. That's actually, you know, I've done some videos from there in the past. That's a really good location to do videos. So if I need to do a video or two or whatever for an episode, because I do like to have gym backgrounds from time to time, not very often, so it is pretty rare. That will be that, but they do, you know, Bel Air certainly does a wonderful job. You know, general manager Jeff Harper and Alexa Mullings, his assistant. So that's going to be open-ended. So you will occasionally, you know, see me pop into Bel Air Fitness. So, but I'm excited to have this new season as well down south with Fit Nation. But that's just from a competitive standpoint. I wanted to share that with you. What was that initial question was, I need something that is not going to require me to commit. That is not going to, I mean, there's one thing, you know, if I live there, whatever, something, that's a different situation. You know, but they were very, very flexible, and so think about that, particularly for private gym owners, private studio owners, to recognize that level of flexibility. What options do you have? Because yes, those people could potentially, you would be able to potentially convert them to members. Because who's to say at some point I wouldn't just say, oh, you know, it's unlikely, but not to say, you know, never. That okay, yeah, let me just, you know, get a membership, but it's hard because I don't live there, and I just have that idiosyncrasy about that. Gym memberships being paid for and not being used, but that's just my own personal philosophy. So, like I said, that question mark is now a period, and so now I will be doing a hybrid model just like I do here, where we've got Rachelle's Home Fitness Center and Edge Fitness in Farmington Hills, and there will be outdoor, driveway, backyard, park fitness, in addition to the machines at Oscar Millett's Home Fitness Center, in addition to Fit Nation. So we'll probably do the same there, like 2 days a week, go to the gym, and then do the rest, you know, the rest of the days, the other 4 days, outdoor, at home, or at home. And so wanted to share that little story time, but that heat, folks, because that's a big thing with me, because when I left in the spirit of transparency, and this is something, you know, I kind of talked about the heat issues at Powerhouse, and I get it. 70,000 square feet. You got 2 levels. It's very expensive in terms of, heating and cooling and those type of things, so the variable cost. But I made a vow. I was like, I cannot do a hot gym again. I cannot do it in the future from a membership standpoint. Now, if I go one-off and I'm at a hotel gym and their air conditioning's broken, okay, or something like that. But that's a very big thing for me because I dealt with that with several gyms, and I just don't want to go down that path anymore. Moving forward in year 27 and beyond, that's not happening. That's just not happening. So moving on here, away from story time, on to some highlights from the fitness industry. Just a couple of things that came certainly when I was gone. So Club Industry Magazine, and so their e-newsletter. They had an article published July 20th by Pamela Kufal, the content director. I quote her often. And so this particular article title was U.S. Fitness Industry Lost $20.4 billion in 2020. Comeback on Horizon per IHRSA report. So I wanted to share this good news with you. I'm actually going to read this all in its entirety. It's not too long. And so here it goes. After generating record revenue of $35 billion in 2019, the U.S. fitness industry generated just $15 billion in 2020, a loss of about $20.4 billion or 58% due to temporary club closures and restricted capacities mandated by local and state governments to prevent the spread of COVID-19, according to the 2021 IHRSA Global Report. However, the industry is primed for a strong comeback, the report noted, pointing to 7 reasons for optimism. U.S. clubs saw 75% to 80% of members returning in the first few months of 2021. Health is now a higher priority for Americans. Consumers have an increased desire to get back into gyms and experience community after being in lockdown. Displaced members from closed clubs are looking for new exercise options. Consumers view online workout options as an add-on to gym memberships rather than as a replacement. And the industry streamlined during the pandemic and adopted more digital offerings to create a more mature industry. In addition, many market analysts and industry investors have indicated they see a positive future for the industry, and several national and regional club operators have received investments to expand. Many surviving clubs in these markets have already seen significant increases in membership, outpacing pre-pandemic numbers. Jay Alblandi, IHRSA's publisher and executive vice president of global products, said in a media release about the report. As we look to the future, all signs point to a strong comeback for the fitness industry. The optimism is too late for 17% of U.S. health clubs that had to permanently close during the pandemic. The government closure data was as of December 31st, 2020, and came from payment processing companies in the industry. Recovery for the industry will take a long time for some parts of the world and some segments of the industry. But for clubs in areas less affected by the pandemic or those that receive more relief from governments, the recovery will be more immediate, according to the report. The report highlights the biggest news in the industry from the past year, including a summary of how the pandemic impacted the industry. It also offers a timeline of the pandemic's impact on the industry, including a timeline of closures and restrictions, as well as the performance of the publicly traded companies in the industry. In addition, the report includes profiles of more than 300 health club companies, as well as profiles of industry suppliers from around the world. And there's a last sentence that says the report can be downloaded here, and there's a hyperlink. IHRSA members receive a discount on the report. So, FYI, better times are coming. We've talked about this before. I've said this a number of times. Keep on keeping on. Things are going to get better. Things are certainly have gotten better in a lot of different places, but just keep on keeping on. Hang in there. Good news is coming. Good news is coming. So, folks, and a second thing I wanted to share before I wrap this episode up is another article that's actually attributed to club industry staff, published also on July 20th, entitled United Healthcare, so the insurance company, offers members free access to Peloton programs. Once again, from a competitive analysis standpoint, what's going on? Okay, we saw the rise, particularly during the shutdowns and the pandemic, of Peloton. Then they hit some major turbulence with their treadmill. They had a child die. Then now they're facing class action lawsuits as a result of that. So they've had a bumpy road. And I've noticed when I was in Louisiana, because I don't watch, I have a Fire Stick here, and then of course the local channel, so I don't watch a lot of TV in general, but I do more so in Louisiana. And I did notice there are a lot of Peloton commercials. I don't know if it's regional or perhaps it's national, but there's a lot of ads for that Peloton bike. A lot of ads for the Peloton bike. And so, in lieu of the treadmill, certainly for obvious reasons. But so a lot going on there, but they are keeping the focus and keeping on, and looking at expanding their business vis-a-vis strategic partnerships. So I'm also going to read, this isn't very lengthy, what is it, maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs. I'm going to read this as well, just as an FYI. So this is the kind of stuff that's important to know. You've got major insurance companies collaborating with equipment manufacturers now. It's very, very important and something to take note. So here we go. United Healthcare will offer its 4 million commercial members a 12-month subscription to a Peloton digital membership, or a 4-month subscription to a Peloton All Access membership at no additional cost as part of their plan benefits, the company announced on July 20th. The offer begins on September 1st. At the end of the 12-month membership, United Healthcare plan participants will have the opportunity to renew the Peloton digital membership at the market rate directly through Peloton. This is the first partnership that Peloton has entered into since it announced in June that it has launched its Peloton Corporate Wellness Platform. Many Americans may be turning to on-demand exercise options to help improve their fitness and bolster their overall well-being. And this first-of-its-kind relationship with Peloton will provide millions of our members with an important resource to help them along their paths towards a healthier lifestyle. Philip Kaufman, COO, United Healthcare employer and individual, said in the announcement. Expanding access to Peloton's industry-leading health and wellness community builds upon our commitment to developing digital health resources and consumer-centric benefits to help people live healthier lives. And so that's that article. And so that's it. Peloton has faced an extreme amount of adversity, certainly some very, very tough headwinds here with the unfortunate death of the child and the large amount of negative publicity that they've experienced since then. And like I said, now class action lawsuits, and it's just a very, very rough period. But they have to keep on keeping on. They have to keep things moving. And that's certainly a lesson to all of us. I'm always talking about adversity, the benefits of adversity. A lot of people say, oh, I hate adversity. I hate the storms of life. And when I hear, and it's always interesting when I hear it, is people like, I don't like surprises. I don't like hard times. People want things to always go their way, but folks, that is not realistic. That is not realistic. And so it is these times and these seasons of adversity in our lives that cause us to grow, that develop our character and enhance and refine our character, and also test our resolve and commitment. And this is so important in the fitness industry. And certainly the adversity that gyms and fitness facilities and certainly personnel have experienced, yes, it is a very big test. How committed are you? How committed are you to fitness? And also to have balance in that statement I just made. Yes, we've had thousands of gyms closed, and unfortunately, we had the commitment there, but things just didn't work out. But I want to encourage you to remain committed, remain focused, remain determined. Because this is an industry where, you're talking about impacting lives from a health standpoint, from a wellness standpoint, from a fitness standpoint. This is an industry where, you can see tangible results. You can see physical results in terms of, what goes on in this industry and the pros of this industry and the purpose, the ideal purpose of this industry. And so I implore you yet again to keep on keeping on. Adversity comes to all of us. I shared with you in the story time about the adversity that I faced, you know, walking into a very hot gym. And I had to make a decision. You know, when I was sitting there and I walked in, it's like, boom. And I walked up to the desk, you know, to pay the fee, to pay the guest fee and to sign in and stuff. I had a decision to make. Either I'm like, you know what, I can't do this. It's hot in here. You know, I don't like hot gyms. I had to make a decision. And I kept on and I persevered, and I'm still alive and here to tell you the story. You know, it happens. It happens in life. Things happen. Air conditioning issues, have issues. All right. So, but we have to make decisions to despite any adversity, despite any setbacks, despite any challenges, to keep on keeping on. All right, and to not give up. To not give up. All right, I'm moving in, as I mentioned, I'm moving on to a series on confidence next time. And the ability to persevere, the ability not to give up, the ability to keep on keeping on is essential, and is certainly highly reflective of a degree of confidence. All right, because it's easy to just, you know, oh, when times get tough, and just say, oh, you know what, just, you know, I'm doomed before, you know, even exerting any effort in any type of situation. I'm doomed. This is doomed. What a waste. You know, I always knew I would fail. I always knew this wouldn't work. No, we've got to have positive attitudes. We've got to have attitudes that are focused on persevering and overcoming whatever obstacles life throws our way. And we have all been through what many thought were insurmountable obstacles in the last year plus, 15 months, 16, 17, 18 months, whatever. Going on all of this time. We're still here. We're still here, which reflects a degree of perseverance, a high degree of perseverance. So I just want to encourage you, keep on keeping on. Good times are ahead, but we've got to believe good times are ahead. All right, we've got to believe it, and we've got to make sure our actions are lining up with that. All right, so we're taking the necessary steps to make sure that good times, to ensure everything that was certainly within our power and control to ensure that good times are ahead. But giving up is not an option, folks. So that is all I have for you today. I cannot wait until next week. Some of you are going to be like, oh my goodness. She's a little tough when it comes to confidence, and I absolutely am. And so that's why I didn't want to just kind of drop in without giving you a heads up. This is a filler episode, so I want to give you a quick filler episode and move on into confidence, that series next week. I cannot wait. So stay tuned for that, folks. But until then, remember, I am positively passionate about your fitness, success, leadership, and confidence. Make it a great day.